Hello, this is Vance, and this is Tuesday, September the 5th, 2017. And this is a slow hand method for price action trading for today. A couple of things that I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to give you a little bit of an outline about what I'm going to be doing going forward. Figured this would be a good kickoff because, well, it's day after Labor Day. You know, the summer is kind of officially over. Everyone's back to school, particularly in North America. And it seemed like a good time to really start kind of afresh, right from square one. So, with that in mind, I've got a couple of announcements to make. The first is this idea about price action trading and using the slow hand method. I've had lots of individuals who are interested in it. They've kind of emailed me, talked to me about it, and so forth. And I had promised over the last few weeks to really kind of go back to square one and really go over the basics as far as what the slow hand method for price action trading is concerned. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to really focus on small accounts more than anything else because it seems that most individuals are interested in that. But I'm going to try to do it on a step-by-step progression basis. And a lot of the things that I've talked about in the past have been pretty disjointed because I've had quick lessons, I've had in detailed lessons, I've talked about second entries and so forth, but I'm going to try to squeeze this down to a more concise way of looking at price action trading using the slow hand method. Now, one of the things what I've been thinking about lately is that unfortunately the idea of me trying to translate information that I know into somebody else so that they can successfully trade is challenging. And I'm trying to think about what would be the best way of delivering this. And I think I've got the solution for it. What I've got here is most individuals that contact me have been familiar with trading for some time or looked at my videos and so forth at various other forums and kind of reviewed my YouTube channels, 100 plus videos and that sort of thing. They've got the concepts are down as far as what it really means to trade a commodity of some type. But the challenge is that they can't seem to improve, or they can't get better, or they can't go live, or there's too much anxiety associated with trading. So I came up with this chart here. It's not mine. I had seen a program some time ago with regard to why I can't get better. And I talked about this a few months back, but I think it's worthwhile to revisit this because it has to do with what I'm going to try to apply going forward. When you look at trading or you look at doing any endeavor, there's a learning segment and there's a performance segment. And the challenge is that when people try to learn while they're actually doing the activity, and that's really a mistake. Many people think that if you're in a game or in a performance, you don't practice while the performance is on. You practice before you give the performance. And so if you look at it from the perspective of, let's say, a play, for instance, if you are an actor in a play, the learning curve is really to learn your lines, learn your get your costume, figure out where you're going to be, blocking, how everyone else in the performance learns their lines and so forth. And then you kind of ramp that up to a dress rehearsal, and then you go on for a performance. Now, evidently, when you first start a performance, when it's a play, it's probably going to be a little bit ragged. But as you develop over time, it becomes better. My interest, of course, relating to trading is to how do you learn how to do that without it costing you anything, or without actually costing you dollars when you have money on the line. Well, what this chart really shows is three things. It shows the goal, it shows the learning process, and the performance process. So if you look at along the top, these headings, the activities for, and we'll relate this specifically to trading, the activities for improvement. For instance, you want the activities for improving trading. This is the learning process. So under improvement, activities for learning how to recognize entries, for instance, looking how to manage investments or manage your trade, looking where to set targets or how to collate information, or how to judge or how to recognize the structure of the market. You improve on those things. Performance, to do your best, this is where you execute. You know all these things. When you have those activities under control, then you can go on to the execution state. Actually do it. The goal to concentrate on areas that you haven't mastered yet. In other words, perhaps it's maybe the physical aspects of putting on a trade or taking off a trade. Maybe it's for not recognizing turns in the market, or not recognizing whether you're in a range or whether the market is in a trend, and what are the marks for that. And in the performance, you've already mastered those things, those aspects of it. The last one is goals for mistakes. When you're in the learning mode, mistakes are expected. You're going to make mistakes. You can't get this all at once. In the performance mode, you minimize those mistakes. So if you look at it I'm going to be focusing on areas that you can improve, and hopefully you can move from a learning capsule to a performance capsule. And so that's kind of what I'm heading at. Now, this isn't going to be a short-term issue. It will take some time, but realistically, to kind of get these things, get through all the learning, because it's not really that difficult. It should only take you a few weeks, and that would be it. So if you concentrate on, with regard to the slow hand method for price action, it should only take a few weeks, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. If it's taking longer than that, then there's something haywire. You're missing the point somewhere. So that's what I'm going to try to step this back into, to get people comfortable, for people that are interested in going down this track. Now, it's going to be kind of haphazard at this point. I'm going to try to start with the basics to begin with, and then go from there, and then we'll figure out how much time it's taking, and then I'll try to put it together in some cohesive format. But that's what I'm going to be doing. But for now, for the time being, as far as what is the cost going to be, I don't really know, and I'm not really interested in that at this point in time. I'll see how what it amounts to. Let's call it the first few sessions are introductory, and then we'll go from there. And if you need actual specific help in a particular area, then I'll do it from that standpoint. But my point at this point is just to try to kind of get this in motion, and because I haven't really done anything with the last few weeks about it, and I've helped individuals here and there, but it's too haphazard. As I said, I want to have a little bit more structured approach to it. And the only way I can think of doing that is try to allow you to look at what I'm looking at and what I'm going to discuss on a step-by-step basis, and hopefully we can kind of figure this out together. Okay. With that in mind, that's the introduction part. Okay, let's do an update for what has happened today. Now, there's been a lot that's gone on that I really haven't kind of given the updating, and unfortunately, I'm kind of starting at square one from the last few weeks particularly. We've had a lot of stuff going on in the world. Geopolitically, we've had a number of things with regards to the weather. We've got two hurricanes. Well, the first hurricane, we had Hurricane Harvey, which decimated the south, the area around Texas and those areas with tremendous flooding and it's devastation. And now there's another hurricane bearing down in Florida, Hurricane Irma, which at last today said it was a Category 5 hurricane. So two major disasters. It looks like it's going to hit the U.S. and that really does affect fuel prices. It will affect oil prices. These things are so kind of throwing the market in kind of a turmoil at this point in time. 2 weeks ago, it was because of gasoline prices. They shut down some major refineries in the southern United States. And now that they've come back online, but now that Hurricane Irma is bearing down, is there going to be an effect there? Hopefully it doesn't hit Texas again. It could. I don't know if they can. They're estimating it's going to track up through Florida, which is terrible because it's a terrible hurricane. Anyways, that's something to keep in mind. But that from a I guess a disaster standpoint, that does affect oil prices to some degree. Now, we also had a couple of things that have gone on. I mean, there's the last few weeks there's a discussion with OPEC saying that they're going to try to extend and maybe even reduce the amount of oil output going forward. That is was relatively positive in the market, but then last week we had a fall off in the market, I guess on the heels of the hurricane touching down and not as much demand for crude oil in the United States, but now we've had a bounce back. And we've had that holiday yesterday, and then we had this pretty large rise up right here. Now, let me talk a little bit about this area, and let's talk a little bit about this. Now, first thing this morning, I mean, prices were hovering down below $47. I mean, they dipped down. We can even see this back here. Let's go a couple weeks back. Last week, they were as low as $46.55. I think it was the low of the week. Well, $45.99 just went below $46. Anyways, that was a couple of weeks back. But now we're back up to, we're closer to $49. We touched that, $48.98, especially for today. This was yesterday. Now, coming in this morning, what was I thinking about? My thought process was that this was the overnight, and if we just look at it from this perspective, this was overnight. You can see that really the bottom line was $47.18. That was the low of the day yesterday. Of course, that was just the holiday. If you look back to last Friday, the low back then was, prices had been starting to move up by Friday, and then after last week's low. So yesterday was kind of a holding pattern just because it was the holiday. But then we come in, and then in the overnight sessions, prices started to move up. Now, this is really about 7 o'clock, 7:45. This is 8 o'clock right here. And I marked this area in blue. And why did I mark this one in blue? I marked this in blue because I was looking for a long right in this area. We had this run up here. We had prices pull back. They've kind of stagnated, and this is right at 8:45. Prices moved up. This is just before 9 o'clock. Prices back, moved down, and we had this spike down here. And right at this area right here was an area that I went long. And the fact of the matter now, a couple of things. Let's take a look at two things here. Why would I go long there? Well, first of all, we had this move up from the overnight. When we have other when the market opens, typically we'll have a push. It didn't appear to me that this area and this area here was rejection. So let me just kind of draw on this. I'll show you what I mean by the rejection area. From a price action standpoint, I was looking at this area here. This is kind of like this pricing here. You can see this is kind of rejection in this area. Prices can't go down any further. Moves back up. We have this price moves up, moves back down here. Another area of where it kind of solidifies. Price punches up here, moves back. Now this is just before the open. When prices, so I'm trying to position right where this open. My expectation is that we're probably going to maybe have a little bit of a kick up here. Now, I had no idea this was going to happen. I didn't know this. I was thinking that we get 15 ticks to this area, and then even though it was a little bit higher than here, this 15 ticks, and I'll show you what my stop box looks like. I'll have to kind of get rid of these lines. My stop box is at right here. And if you see, my entry is right at this area. My entry was right at the $48 mark, and I at $48.01. And you can see that this 15 ticks. You can see where my stop is below what I thought was support, relatively support here, but this 15 ticks is above this high right here. And if you think this is a double top, this area right here, my thinking is that once price got to be about 10 ticks, the expectation is that it would kind of move up higher. You can kind of move to break even once it got to this level to see how it goes. As it turned out, as soon as the market opened, it shot up here, a slight pullback, instead moved up here. And that was, it wasn't, but when you look at from the trend from this, even though there's pullbacks, now this is kind of you see this move up. Let me just move this here. I'll just draw this on. I won't put the lines on here. But you see from the overnight, you see this move up here. We have kind of consolidation here. We have another strong breakout to this area, more consolidation, maybe a bit of an overshoot. We had a move up here, comes back, maybe more consolidation here. We move up, pulls back, and then consolidation, moves up again, maybe minor consolidation, and then it tries to grind its way up here. But by that time, when it touches $48, well, close to $49, it's getting close to $49. You see that there's a little bit of resistance here. And if you just move over, Toward the rest of the day, kind of consolidation then punched up, tried to make it above 48, and you can see it was kind of rotating around. Made it to almost $49, pulls back, moves up, rotates back, and really that's it pretty much for the end of the day. We had this rotation. So the majority of the move took place in this, surprisingly, the majority of it took place really before 10 o'clock. This is 10:30. So for an hour and a half, prices moved up significantly from 47.80 or 47.90 roughly to 48.90. So we had a dollar move in basically an hour and a half. Once it got to here, it kind of turned over, and this is where we are right now. Okay, this is prices kind of turned down. This is where we are now. So really, the realistic, where do you get in? I mean, the point is that are you looking at selling off at these times? Once price breaks this area, you have to think that we're probably people are going to jump on the bandwagon. Traders are going to jump on the bandwagon and push prices higher until we get some significant consolidations. Always difficult looking at these really highs of the day to take a short there without any with any confirmation, as let's put it. I hate that word, like confirmation, because you never get confirmation because you don't know from one moment to the next where prices are going to go. You're estimating, you're trying to anticipate price movement based on previous action, and there's really no set way of doing it. It's kind of part feel. It's got a part, where's momentum? What's the macro aspects of the market? Where are the micro aspects of the market? There's way too much information to determine exactly where's the place to get in. So you won't be able to figure it out. You have to kind of go along the lines of what is the general consensus and get a sense of the market. Read the market, and as Max says, try to understand the language of the market like any foreign language, and that's pretty much it. So that's really it. I don't have anything else. I mean, when you look at it, if I was to break it down even further, the reason I was also looking long is because of the fact that we've been beat up for prices last week, and it's just about time. How much further are we going to go down? I mean, if you look at various companies in Canada, like oil companies, they're off since the beginning of the year 50-60% as far as their stock prices are concerned. And frankly, oil really drives the industrial world, and that is going to be a fact for the foreseeable future. Forget about electric power. Forget about any of these other things. The infrastructure, if there's any changes, it's going to come a lot slower than people anticipate. It's going to take a little bit more time than most people expect because of the fact that the petrochemical industry and oil and gas in general is too well entrenched in the economics of the majority of the world for changes to take place very quickly. Great, you have some great electric cars out there, that's fine, but to get stations in, to build infrastructure, to generate more power. Bottom line is that this was the optimum place to get in. A couple of other places here, no real shorts today. Unless you were kind of trading late in the day and looking at taking some of these shorts here. But a lot of these movements were so dramatic that it's difficult to kind of find a place to get in. For instance, you look at this. This is a break the trend line right here. First move up, pull back, second move up here. But if you look at it, if this is a 15-tick stop box, it's enough room here, but where's your support? Especially with a strong move down here, this should be a breather and might take you out, particularly when you have this much of a move. Didn't. Turned over and moved its way up. But then here we look at, here's really a second entry short right here. First entry, second entry right here. Doesn't come all the way back down. Comes down maybe 11 ticks, turns its way back up. Another, you could say this is really a second entry short here. If you get in right away, it would have worked out, but this is kind of getting late in the day or later in the day, especially when you have movement like this. You'll have these aftershocks and so forth. So that's pretty much it. Anyway, this has been a pretty long recap. I've got one other thing here. I have a trade right here. I recorded it and just up to here and then kind of blow it up. So I'll put that up there too, but there's no sound to it. Anyway, this is Vance. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Okay, now you can see here my entry is at 4801. Just drawing the lines in here. As I said earlier, I was talking about the area of support. 15 ticks. You see where my stop is. Right around here. Kind of turned over a little bit. Price took off. Got my first two contracts out quickly. I moved it up to break even. And then after I moved up to break even, I started to trail behind the prices, and gets taken out just up here, and that's pretty much it. So really quick, just show you where I got in and went from there. Thanks for watching.